This isn't the first video you've watched on this, and it's not going to be the last. You are not going to solve this problem today. Probably not going to solve it this week, this month, or even this year. I'm not going to go into the whole YouTube intro pitch, follow these 5 things and I'm going to fix all your problems. That's not what this video is. This video is me in the trenches with the problem right now. I see a bunch of videos on the internet about how to solve this problem or that problem, and people talking from a pedestal as if they're beyond the problems that they face or they've already solved the issues. But what I don't see is anybody talking about the fucking trenches right now. Who out there is doing it right now? And what do I need to do to fix these problems? I don't need to explain to you this problem. I don't need to go into my story. I can tell you for 20 years I've been addicted to porn since I was 22 or 3 years, since I was 13 or 14 years old. I'm 35 now, about to be 36. And I just turned off the screen literally 5 minutes ago and stopped myself and turned on this camera. I don't see anybody doing that and making a video like that. So while I don't have the answers to solving this problem, because I haven't solved it yet, I have made a lot of progress. I have seen some pretty big improvements over the past few months specifically. This is something I've been trying to solve for 5 years, by the way. I became aware that it was an issue 5 years ago. 5 years. The truth is, today is not the day that we are going to solve this problem. But yesterday, I had a very interesting conversation with a lot of people. I was speaking on a online, conference group community call, and somebody asked me. I was coaching them on business. I come from a family business that, until yesterday, I didn't realize has done $200 million in revenue over 77 years of being around. My grandfather started it in 1947, chiseling wood in his chicken coop. But I was answering questions and talking about business and how to run a business for a really long time and what it takes and just what you got to do to be successful in business. And the very last question somebody asked me, what do you do when you have bad habits that you have to get rid of in order to become who you want to be? Say that again. How do you get rid of bad things you do, behaviors you do that you know are not going to result in the life that you want? That could be anything. It doesn't have to be lust. It can be drugs. It can be porn. It can be video games. It can be weed. It could be, harder substances. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what you're struggling with. There are things that every person does that are not good for the life that they want to live. And what's interesting is it depends on what you want. It depends on the season of life that you're in. You might be young watching this. You might be a young, ambitious man who wants to be successful, and you think that you need to be perfect right now and you need to get everything done. I see that so much in the young generation today. Or maybe you're older. Maybe you have lost somebody, you've drove people away with the habits that you are realizing are self-destructive and you have to fix, and you're trying to fix them. And I know that this is not the first video you've seen on this. I would be amazed if this was the first video that you've watched on this. The reality is you've watched a lot of videos and none of them have solved the problem. And here's probably what occurs. You get hope and inspiration and you're like, oh, this is going to be it. This time I'm going to fight my demons and kill the dragon. And then you don't. And then you don't. And then you don't again. And you don't again. And you keep trying. And over and over and over and over. And eventually you get to the point where you start questioning free will and fate. You start questioning Do I actually have control over who I am? Can I actually beat this? And then hopelessness sets in. Then you feel terrible. You feel like you have no control over anything. That's a bad place to be. It's a very bad place to be. But let's rewind. Let's rewind, because here's what I've learned over the past few months. In the immediate answer that I had for this person, and there was a lot of people in there too. It was a lot of people that were saying the same thing. But my first answer was, it's awareness. The solution is awareness. It's not do this trick or this tactic or this habit. It's not read this book. It's not watch this video. The solution to your problem at the end of the day is always awareness. It doesn't matter what problem it is. We don't even have to be talking about these things, bad habits. We can be talking about, like, you have a problem in your business. You have a problem in a relationship. It's just awareness. You lack clarity. If you can imagine a lens that you're looking through to understand the problem, it is not clear. And the lens is created in two parts. The first part is you have to know what you're looking at. This might sound weird, but if you think about life in the idea of seasons, life goes through seasons. You have a season when you're a kid. You have a season when you're a young teenager. You have a season in high school, season in middle school, season in college, season in your first job. Life goes in seasons. And a lot of times the behaviors that we learn in one season help us survive. They help us cope. They help us with a very bad situation. And these bad habits aren't bad habits. They're not destructive when we learn them. You wouldn't have done it if it was a painful thing when you started. It's not what it's for. But the problem arises only when the season changes. It's when an old identity, an old version of you is kind of passing away. They're dying. They're leaving who you are. And you're now in this kind of transitory phase, this limbo phase. You're moving into this new season of your life, but you haven't actualized that new version of yourself, that new person you want to be. You might still be building the idea of who it is you want to be. But as soon as you start creating that new version of yourself, then the conflict arises. Then the habits that used to serve you in old seasons of your life, now they don't. Now they're destructive. Now it's a problem. Now you have guilt. Now you have shame. Now you are trying to solve the issue. So that's probably lesson number one. Your bad habit, I'm assuming you're watching this because of lust, but it could be anything. You have multiple vices. Your thing that you're doing served you in a season of your life. It was there for a reason. You did it for a reason. You did it as a way to self-soothe and escape. And what's interesting is we can look back in the past and we can have compassion for our younger self. I can look back and be like 13 years old. I had no idea what I was doing. I was a kid. Didn't know the ramifications of my actions. I can't hold 13-year-old me accountable for that. But for some reason, that same compassion and empathy we have for the old version of ourselves, we don't have it for ourselves now, which is interesting. Because when you start building the new version of yourself, immediately you're hit with shame and guilt. And as somebody who's studied cognitive behavioral therapy and evolutionary behavioral theory, there's a concept just in general evolution, science, that nothing that exists in a species doesn't exist without a purpose. Like we have thumbs for a reason. They're there because they do something. And the same thing applies to the mind, actually, in psychology. Depression serves a purpose. Anxiety serves a purpose. Fear serves a purpose. Lust serves a purpose, as shocking as that might be. Guilt serves a purpose. Shame serves a purpose. They were built into us for a reason. But here's the sleight of hand that a lot of people don't see. If you don't know, bad habits, the things that we do that are self-destructive now, they are just a self-soothing mechanism. They're a way for us to emotionally regulate. They come from bad emotions. You're trying to do something, you're trying to be something, and you're hitting friction, you're hitting a wall, you have a negative emotion, and then you spiral. Then you do the bad thing that you know you shouldn't be doing, and you do it. And guess what? What's the immediate next response? What happens immediately after you do something you know you shouldn't do, but you do it anyways, and you can't stop yourself? You have another negative emotion. Okay, let's walk through this. The reason you do something bad, have a bad habit, have lust, is a response to emotionally self-soothe yourself from a bad experience, bad emotion. So you have bad emotion, then you do the thing you don't want to do, you feel guilty and shameful about it, and you have another, it spirals. It's what happens, is you repeat over and over and over, and it's this loop that just is self-destructive. It's the definition of self-destruction. Self-destruction isn't like you click a button and you just blow up. It's a continuous fall, and it can sometimes feel like it never ends. So number one of the most important things to learn and understand about fixing bad habits quickly, and by the way, this never stops. If you're watching this and you're young, you're 19 years old, 20 years old, you're going to always have new seasons in your life. And every time you have a new season in your life, you're going to build a new version of yourself. And you're going to have to look back, and habits and behaviors that served you then aren't going to serve you now. And you're going to have to go through the exact same process. So one thing to note is this never ends. As long as you're alive, you're going to be changing and becoming a new version of yourself, and you're going to have to learn how to do this every single time. So it's better to just accept that this is a part of life. And when it comes to this process, the first thing you have to do is meet yourself with more empathy. The same compassion and forgiveness and understanding that you have for a younger version of yourself, the version of you in the season you were in when you started this bad behavior, you can have compassion for him. But you will never be able to become the version of yourself in the future if you can't simultaneously hold that compassion and empathy for yourself right now. So, step number one, when you are feeling bad and having a negative emotion, you need to become aware of it, like I just did before turning on this camera, and pay attention to the negative emotion. Feel, see it, like stop. Just for a second, stop and just sit with the emotion and notice it. It wants to be seen. It wants to be known. The more aware you become of the problem, of the emotion, the easier it is to heal it. And as you become aware of it and you see it, then pay attention to your guilt and shame. Then pay attention to the next step of the cycle. So there's a multiple step here, a loop that occurs every single time. You have to become hyper aware of that loop and see what's going on. And you will be amazed at how much better it gets when you start becoming aware of this emotional system. And in fact, I'm going to tell you right now, the reason that you've been failing at this issue is because you've been trying to apply a logical solution to an emotional problem. I guarantee you that if you are watching this video still and you've been doing this over and over and over, and you've watched tons of videos and nothing's working, it's because you're trying to apply a logical solution to an emotional problem. You cannot solve an emotional problem with the mind. You have to do it with emotions. I'm going to show you something, a technique in a little bit, that is an emotional solution to an emotional problem, and it helps out tremendously. But before you can do that, you have to become aware of the emotion. You have to see the emotion, and you have to stop in the moment and say, wait a minute, hold on. I know I'm about to do something that I know I shouldn't do. And then the guilt and the shame immediately comes. It will come right as soon as you do that, which amplifies the negative emotion, which causes you to want to do it again. So this is like after you become aware of it and you see the cycle and you see the pattern, then you try to stop yourself or you catch yourself, but you have another immediate emotional reaction. Here's an interesting thing. You probably have studied dopamine to some degree in this. If you haven't, you should watch some videos on like how the dopamine system works. But one of the most important things that I think people miss about the dopamine system is dopamine. You don't do the bad behaviors and habits that you do to get dopamine. The dopamine is actually an anticipation. Dopamine is given from the anticipation, not the reward. So, if you watch the sequence of events unfold in real time with watching yourself, you're doing something, you're trying a new thing, you're learning a new thing, you got some stress or frustration, and then the desire builds. But what's actually building is the anticipation. You're anticipating the release. You're anticipating letting go of the emotion, getting rid of the emotion. That anticipation is also what creates the negative emotion. So the dopamine system, when it occurs, if the anticipation achieves the thing that you want to achieve, like, and this is like, let's say goal setting, let's say take something positive, like you want to win at something, and then you win at something, you have a positive emotion. But if you lose, then you have the negative emotion. And what's interesting in a situation like this is the goal is to not do the thing. But there's a conflict because the negative emotion is driving anticipation to release the negative emotion, but you simultaneously have a goal of not doing that. And then you fail at that, or you want to stop, but you feel shameful and guiltful about the fact that you're even doing it in the first place, that you're in the cycle, which amplifies the negative emotion, and then you fail. So the negative emotion just increases to the point where you buckle, and then you're back in the loop again. So that's the cycle. But how do we reverse that? How do we stop that? How do we meet ourselves with empathy and compassion in the moment, in the fact that you're doing something that you know you shouldn't be doing and you're mad about it? Well, the next step is actually setting a delay, setting a time delay. So try not resisting the problem, but only doing it at, say, like 7 p.m., 8 p.m. Set a timer. Like, you will not do this thing until a certain amount of time. And usually the desire will dissipate, the anticipation is dissipating, and you will eventually get to the time that you don't. And even if you do get to 7 p.m. or 6 p.m., go ahead and do it. This sounds crazy, but do it. Indulge. Do the thing that you're ashamed of doing and you don't want to do. And here's what's going to happen. Pay attention to your emotions as you do it. You will not feel as bad afterwards because you did stick to a little bit of the plan and a little bit of your future, and it is a little bit of progress. And what's interesting is you're now training yourself. You're training yourself to, one, hold the negative emotions that are causing the issue for longer. You're letting your body and your emotional system process whatever it is that is the stress that is causing you to do the bad behavior. So you're more capable of holding that emotional space, but you're also developing compassion and empathy for yourself. You are looking at the situation and yourself in the moment and saying, I don't need to do this right now, and I don't need to have a negative reaction to this. I'm just let's just wait till 7 p.m. or 6 p.m. And when you approach it mentally and emotionally like that, you also have less negative emotion because you set a goal that you're going to do it at 6 p.m. or 7 p.m. And therefore your anticipation is now the anticipation is at this time I will do it, and therefore it's not bad. All of a sudden you've cured this is a bad thing to do. So long story short, your negative emotions are creating this cycle, and you're amplifying the cycle with shame and guilt and a lack of compassion and self-love. Now, back to my original point, I hope you're more aware of yourself in the situation, which is ultimately the solution. And I'm going to say this again and again in this video. At the end of the day, the only solution to any problem is awareness. The more aware you become of who you want to be, and the more aware you become of yourself, emotional awareness, become aware, watch the emotions, mental awareness, logical awareness. You probably have a lot of knowledge and stuff on this problem at this point. The more the problem will fix itself. But here's the next phase of compassion and understanding for yourself. Now we've talked about the immediate moment. Let's talk about aiming for the future. You have a version of yourself in your head that you want to be, or else you wouldn't have the shame and guilt, and you wouldn't be frustrated and upset with where you're at and your struggles. So you have a version of who you want to be in the future. And what's interesting is the more clear that becomes, the more you want that version of yourself, the more the negative shame and guilt comes, because you're not achieving that. You're not that right now, which is perfectionism, by the way. And you will never be perfect, and stop trying to be perfect because it's impossible. And you know that already probably, but you're still going to try to do that. So when it comes to that future version of yourself, I want you to stop for a second and put on his shoes. Think about how the future you would look back on you now. How would they respond to you? How would they talk to you? How would they look at you and judge you? They probably judge you the same way that you would judge your 13-year-old you or 14-year-old you. You were a kid. You didn't know what you're doing. Like, it's so interesting that we can have a lot of understanding and empathy for older versions of ourselves, yet in the moment we can't. But if we stop for a second and think about how we would react in the future version of ourselves looking at us now, they would do the exact same thing. So just do that now, and it will accelerate the speed at which you achieve who you want to be. However, so I want to pull from scripture and the Bible for a second to emphasize a point. And even if you're not Christian or religious, I think this lesson will still hit you hard. But there's a common theme in scripture around patience and around the idea that you don't get to decide what your purpose is and what you're going to be. And in fact, there are even stories in scripture where the guy who's the main character in the current story ends up not getting what he wants, and he ends up dying, but he ends up doing the labor and the required work that sets the foundation for the next chapter and the next man to do God's work. It's a very interesting kind of phenomenon where basically you have to be patient, and you have to be patient, and sometimes you have to suffer, and you have to suffer a lot, and you'll keep suffering, and you'll get angry about suffering, and you won't know why you're suffering. And then sometimes they'll get what they want, or they'll get, the rewards and the fruits. Sometimes they won't. But ultimately, it's all in God's work, and it's all in God's plan. And there is something beyond your own personal experience that is the reason you're going through something. And I can actually relate to this completely without even talking about scripture and the fact that this is not my first rodeo. This is not my first vice. This is not my first problem that I've tried to solve with myself. I've been to battle before with myself. And what's interesting is, in the moments of my darkest days in my past, they were terrible. They were awful. They felt like there was no solution and no way out. And if you're young watching this, you maybe haven't gone through a few battles yet. But what I have experienced is there might be somebody I meet 10 years later and they're going through something and they're asking me for help or they're asking me for guidance. And all of a sudden, this memory or this past experience that I haven't even thought about in years pops into my head. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I went through that. I know what that's like. And then I get to help somebody with a problem that I didn't even know this person until maybe like a year before. And if you are biblical or Christian, you probably believe on bringing heaven on earth and living like Jesus and being a good person. Well, the reality is you don't get to decide who you are. You don't get to decide your struggles. And you don't yet know the people that you're going to help in the future with the struggles you're going through right now. And I think this helps out a lot with long-term perspective, long-term identity, and more compassion and empathy for yourself right now. You're going through these problems for a very specific reason. You're learning and becoming a new version of yourself, and you're way too impatient. You're trying to get it right now, and you need to accept that it's not going to be fast. Like I said at the opening of this video is not going to solve your problem. You're not going to solve it today. You're probably not going to solve it this month. You're going to relapse, but it's part of the process. It's part of the journey. You were not meant to be perfect. You were meant to struggle. You were meant to have problems. You were meant to be human. It's through those sufferings that you learn wisdom. And then with that wisdom, you become the better person and you get to help more people. And you don't yet know who's going to come into your life where you're going to have an impact on them, but you're not going to be able to do that if you don't develop the wisdom. Struggling is part of the process. And this is something I told at the end of this call that I had yesterday, which is you're too impatient. You're trying to enforce what you think the world needs to be and who you need to be for the world, and you don't get to decide that. So with that in mind, I think the last kind of lesson I can give you is if you can spot the pattern in the moment and you can see and connect to the negative emotion, you can have compassion and empathy for yourself in the moment to reduce the negative emotion and also take a break, walk. I went for a walk for a second. I do something that's not like don't replace a coping mechanism with another coping mechanism. Do something that's slow. Do something that's dissipating or even healing and generative. So once you can do that, and assuming you believe in being a good person and being the best version of yourself, then think about how can I take this negative emotion and translate it into something healthy, something that can help people. Another interesting thing that I've picked up, I've only been studying scripture for like 6 months now, but one of the interesting things I picked up was wake up every day and try to serve somebody, try to help someone other than yourself. If you notice when you're depressed, when you're anxious, when you're upset, when you're in your emotions, when you're spiraling, when you're self-destructive, when you're ruminating and constantly thinking about something, you're focused on you. You're waking up, oh, woe is me, I got this problem, this is the issue, I got stress, oh my God, why can't I be better? No. It's all, you're all you. You, ego. It's all ego. One of the interesting things about scripture, and I guess I'm kind of telling you to read scripture if you don't, is focus on other people. Focus on who you can help. Focus on someone, a sibling. So focus on your parents. Focus on family members. Focus on anybody you can that's not you. And literally, when you wake up, when you get out of your bed, stop. Write it on a piece of paper. Put it on your phone. Take a piece of paper, write, who can I help today? Tape it to your phone. Put your phone on the other side of the room when you go to bed at night. When you wake up, you'll be triggered. This is Atomic Habits. If you haven't read Atomic Habits, you'll see it. Stop. Take a second. Who can I help? And don't be grandiose about it. Don't try to conquer the world. Don't try to save everyone. You don't need to do something epic. You don't need to do something amazing. Don't have an ego about it. Have selflessness about it. Just, what can I do one thing for somebody? Maybe it's call your grandma. Have a conversation with her because you haven't talked to her for a while and that put a smile on her face. That's helping somebody. That's all you got to do. That is a check mark for the day. And I can tell you over the past 6 months that the days that I do that, it's really good. I have really good days when I'm trying to help somebody. The really bad days are when I'm not. When I'm in my head, when I'm in my emotions, when I'm in my ego, when I'm thinking about my problems, when I'm thinking about who I want to be in the future, and I'm upset with myself because I'm not there yet now, or I'm thinking about the past and the things that I did wrong. It's a recipe for negative emotions and your bad behaviors and habits. Focus more on other people and who you can help. Sometimes who you can help is you, by the way. This is a weird thing, but in helping yourself is not thinking about your problems, by the way. You think about your problems enough, that clearly doesn't work. You think that you're very aware of this problem at this point, so thinking about it more is not helping you. So when I say help yourself, I don't mean to ruminate and shame yourself and feel guilty and feel bad about where you're not at. That is not helping yourself. Helping yourself is having compassion and patience with yourself, understanding that you don't have to be perfect today. Helping yourself is cooking a really good meal for yourself, putting some good shit in your body. Helping yourself is going for a walk, working out, talking to a friend, doing the things that you know are good for you. Because at the end of the day, you can't be good for other people if you're not good to yourself. You can only respect people as much as you respect yourself. Other people can only respect you as much as they respect themselves. So don't take disrespect personally because they don't respect themselves. You can only love people as much as you love yourself. You can only emotionally connect to other people as much as you emotionally connect to yourself. If you want to be a good person, you have to be good to yourself. You have to treat yourself well, and you will be a good person. You don't become a good person by shame and guilt and fear. It's how you end up a really bad person. And you know that. You've met people like that. Think about somebody who's really old, who you don't want to be like, and they have a lot of guilt, and they have a lot of shame, and they have a lot of fears. They have made a lot of mistakes. They've been doing that what they've been doing is doing that for a very long time. All right, it is now 7:40 at night. It's been about 5 hours since I shot that video, and I edited it a little bit. And now I want to give you the technique I told you about earlier in this video. I want to give you a tool. I want to give you something that has changed my entire life. I learned it a few years ago, and I think it will help you out tremendously in your journey through life. I think it is something that if you learn and you practice, you will do it for the rest of your life. It is one of the top 3 best things I have ever learned when it comes to developing myself. But before we get into the technique, I want to kind of frame it. I want you to imagine that we're hanging out in a tavern 1,000 years ago in a town, and someone busts through the door, frantic, sweating, and they yell, "There's an army on the way. We're about to be attacked." I was on a boat and I saw on the coastline, there's an army walking our way. They're going to be here in probably 4 weeks. What do? Do you run? Do you hide? Do you flee? Do you fight? What's the normal response? Well, I can tell you what the response isn't. It's not to sit around and wait for the army. It's not to, we'll be fine. I'm sure they won't. Whatever. Well, let's just keep drinking and doing our thing. And, I'm sure they're a nice bunch of people. That is not what you would do. You wouldn't sit around waiting for an army to attack you. The reality is you are going to get attacked. you're going to have negative emotions at some point in the next 24 hours. It's going to happen. And for some reason, we think that avoiding the situation and repressing it and pushing it down and trying to have willpower and be strong is going to do something different than every other time it's failed. How long have you been struggling with this problem, and your default response is to just do the same thing? It's not going to work. And what's happening is you're not preparing. You're not training yourself. The correct thing to do would be to train. If you're going to fight, you need to fucking train. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to get ready for the next battle. We're going to prepare ourselves. We're going to have a game plan for when the next time arises. Now, what we're going to do is actually induce a negative emotion. I'm going to have you visualize and bring forth a negative emotion, and then we're actually going to scroll and do the thing that we're not wanting to do, and we're going to do it without judgment and without any type of negative emotions. You might feel some stuff, you might feel ashamed or guilty, but we're going to try to not do that. So first, before anything, we have to evoke a negative emotion. If you're watching this, maybe you're feeling bad about yourself, but I really want you to think about some stuff you did wrong in the past. I want you to think about somebody you hurt. Think about the things you did to hurt yourself. I want you to think about the things that you wish you hadn't done. The road that you walked down that you really wish you didn't walk down. I want you to think about the person maybe you're fighting with right now. Think about the person that you wish you could talk to again. Think about the person you hurt that is not willing to talk to you anymore. I really want you to stop and think and feel. I want you to feel that negative emotion. Keep focusing. Think about the things that you wish you would have said to the person. If you're angry, be angry about it. Don't judge yourself, just feel it. Now, hopefully you feel some kind of negative emotion. If you don't, maybe pause this video for a second and go do the thing that you're avoiding or that you're resisting. Maybe you're really overwhelmed with like a big project. You don't actually have to do the big project. Like, I got to do my taxes. I got to send some taxes, and that stuff frustrates the hell out of me. I hate taxes. Pause the video. Go spend 5 minutes trying to do your taxes and then come back and unpause this video and we'll continue. I just want you to have a negative emotion, hit resistance. I want you to be in that emotional state because we're training to hold that emotional state. Okay. Now that you have some negative space, we are going to do something, and I want you to just follow along with what I'm doing, and then I will explain what's happening afterwards. We're just going to breathe. But this is probably not, if you've ever done any breathing stuff, it's not going to be what you've normally been used to. This might get actually pretty intense. First, imagine a Maui warrior. I want you to imagine them doing their chant, doing their war dances and cries. I want you to have that image as what we're going to be doing. We're going to be doing some breath work, but we're going to be doing some very intense breath work. I want you to be forceful with what you're doing. And by the end of this, you are going to have control over your emotions. This sounds crazy. This is one of the only techniques I've ever learned that gives me a direct control over my emotional state. I can be in a black hole abyss, and within 20 minutes of doing this, I am completely fine. It's the only thing that I've ever found that can change how I feel in the moment. And the reason that this is important, you probably feel a little bit hopeless battling your problems and trying to improve yourself. That hopelessness comes from not feeling like you have control or any direction in the battles that you're fighting. I'm going to give you a tool that gives you control, which should eliminate your hopelessness. So, Maui Warrior, I want you to breathe through the nose, out through the mouth. So, in, out. But put your hand on your stomach. Pay attention to your chest. Put your other hand here. When you breathe in, are you breathing up? Is your chest rising? Don't do that. That increases stress and anxiety. That'll increase negative emotions. You probably never paid attention to that, but if you watch yourself when you're stressed and you're breathing, you'll breathe up. Do not breathe up, breathe out. Not up, out. And I want you to be forceful with it. Stretch. Stretch your stomach. Maui Warrior. Flare your nose. Might burn, especially if you're in a cold room. If it does burn, cup your hands. Kind of heats up the air. Out. Keep going. Full breaths. Stretch. You might start feeling something now about this time. Might feel tingling. Might feel pressure. It's fine. Keep going. You're fine. Nothing's gonna happen. Keep forcing it. I want you to feel uncomfortable. I want you to feel tingling in your hands. I want you to feel your face. Feel the tight muscles in your face or your body. Feel it in your chest. Feel the tightness. I want you to move and turn. Feel the stress in your body. You have 15 more seconds. I want you to double time faster. 10. If you're sweating, that's fine. 5, 3, 2. I want you to breathe deep, and I want you to ohm out. Breathe all the way in. At this point, you should have no air in your lungs. If you haven't yet, go ahead and breathe all the way out. No air in your lungs. And I want you to hold your breath as long as you can. And let's see if you can beat me at holding my breath. While we hold our breath, I'll explain what we just did a little bit. So the hum or the ohm is actually very important. A lot of times it's funny and weird the first time people do it. It's uncomfortable, but there's actually a reason. So the vibration moves in the back of your throat, which relaxes your vagus nerve, which relaxes your nervous system. And real quick, the hyperventilation and the breathing is designed to oxygenate the blood level. There are stress receptors in your body connected to the pH level of your blood. And by changing the O2 and CO2 levels, you actually deactivate stress response. And in just a few seconds, we're going to take a deep breath in, try to hold as long as you possibly can. And when we breathe in about 10 seconds, I want you to breathe all the way in, and I want you to squeeze your chest, like squeeze your diaphragm for about 2 seconds. And 3, 2, 1. Squeeze. Squeeze with air in your lungs. Hold it. Relax. Okay. If that's the first time you've ever done breath work like that, it might feel kind of weird, especially the Om. You might have laughed. A lot of people do. But hopefully you feel a little different. Feel not good, maybe yet, but there was definitely something there that changed. I want to do another round, and this time I really want you to lean into the uncomfortability, the stress, the tension in your muscles. I really want you to pay attention to how your body's feeling, and I want you to lean into it. I want you, don't shy away from it. Your body will tell you, this is uncomfortable, this is unnatural, I don't like this, slow down, don't breathe so hard, don't breathe as much. This is weird, like this person's fucking crazy, why am I sitting in my room doing this right now? Your body and your mind are going to try and resist this because you're changing your emotional state. Your body does not like that. This is a system that usually you have no control over. It's not something that you normally do. And whenever we try to influence a part of our body that is usually unconscious and autonomic, it will resist it. So I really want you to lean into that stress. As you breathe, make it worse. Make your face more tingling, or your hands more tingling, or your feet numb. I want you to really go hard, fucking 100%, really go into it, okay? All right. So in through the nose, out through the mouth. Breathe out, don't breathe up. Follow my breath. I want you to breathe out slow, but in fast. Stretch. Feel the tension in your back and your muscles. Feel your neck. I feel a lot of tension in my lower back. So I'm gonna twist and focus on it. We're gonna go a little faster. Again, your body's gonna try to fight it. I just want you to ignore your body and continue to lean into it. You're gonna be okay. You'll be fine if things are feeling weird. Hopefully you're feeling something. Maybe lightheaded, that's fine. You're not gonna pass out. Don't be driving a car though. 30 seconds. Really get into it. Really lean into it. You're gonna be fine. 15. Really lean into it. Double time. 10. You might be sweating, that's fine. 5, 4, 3, 2. Breathe real deep. Okay, I want you to hum and ohm all the way out. So just hold this hum until you have no air in your lungs, and then hold your breath at the bottom. Do not breathe in. So no air in your lungs. Hold your breath. No air. All right, I'm going to do a little bit of wizardry on you. I want you to stare at a point directly in front of you. I just want you to lock eyes on it and stare at it. And I want you to try and observe your thoughts. I know that sounds weird, but I want you to watch your thoughts. And I want you to repeat this in your mind. I want you to ask yourself a question. The question is, what is my next thought? And watch your thoughts. What is my next thought? What is my next thought? What is my next thought? Just repeat that over and over in your mind. What is my next thought? And watch your thoughts. In 30 seconds, we're going to breathe in. In 15 seconds, we're going to breathe in. Five, 4, 3, 2, 1. Deep breath and squeeze. Squeeze your stomach, squeeze your diaphragm. Hold it. Relax. You might be shaking a little bit. You're fine. That's normal. How do you feel now? Hopefully you feel pretty good. If you don't, go back and restart this. I'll put a timer up when it starts and do it again. Do it 3 times if you need to. I do this every day. This is part of my routine. It is a habit and a behavior that I've developed in response to negative emotions and negative situations and stress. This is a phenomenal tool. This is the best tool that I've found to managing stress. If you would like to learn more about this, or if you would like more stuff on this, go to my Instagram and shoot me a DM and just tell me the video you watched and a little bit about what you thought. And I'll see if I could make another video, make something to help you with that. Hopefully you had an emotional response and change. Hopefully you were feeling stressed and a little down. Now it's gone. This is really effective if you're really stressed out. If you're watching this video and you're really in a negative space, you'll have a much more greater impact. The greater the difference of emotional change, the stronger it is. The first time I did this was in a group of 25 guys, and I almost broke down crying because I was repressing stuff. So my last little lesson here is, 1, hopefully you have a sense of control and power now and less hopelessness. I hope you have that. If you don't, do it again and do it more. The more you do it, the better you'll get at it and the easier it is. I can actually do this quicker than what we did. I just took it a little bit slower because I know the pace at which new people do this at. The second thing The second thing is that you want to lean into the stress, lean into your frustration, lean into your vices and your lust and your struggle, not in a destructive way, but in a learning way, in a embracing way, in a compassionate way. Your coping mechanism is a method you have used for a very long time, and it's worked very well because you've done it for so long. It's going to take time and patience to develop a new one. This can be a new method of handling emotions. It takes time though, and it takes patience, and you have to wake up every day and give yourself grace and take it slow. And you're going to fail, you're going to screw up, you're not going to be perfect. This will not solve the problem. And the last thing I want to say on this actually too is I see a lot of people learn things like this technique, meditations, breath work, yoga, tantras, gratitude. There's all kinds of different techniques you can use to develop yourself and develop your inner world. But a thing that people mistake, especially new people to it, is that they think that they learn this new cool trick and now all their problems are solved. That this is just a tool. This is no different than like a chisel to chisel wood. You still have to chisel the wood for a very long time. It's not a solution to the deeper problems. There are maybe past experiences, past situations, maybe traumas that you have gone through, really hard times in your life, and maybe they're difficult to talk about. Maybe there's things that have happened to you that you've talked to no one about. In fact, if you have that, if that's ringing a bell for you right now, you have trauma. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just part of human life. And I have a video on a masculine approach to emotions, which kind of talks about that. You should check it out if you haven't. But you want to lean into those situations. A lot of your coping mechanisms and negative things or unhealthy patterns and traits that you have developed probably come or are stemmed from those really bad experiences in your life. And doing this breath work can be a way to relax the body and the nervous system so that you can more effectively and emotionally approach those situations. You can approach them in your mind, you can approach them with a therapist, and approach them in a way that doesn't induce, stress or really bad responses if you have something that was really serious happen to you. So I hope that part helped you. And now we're going to hop back to the video 5 hours ago. And that's pretty much it. That's where I'm at right now. It is not a problem that I have solved yet. I'm actively working on it. But these things have helped me out a lot. Leave a comment below, and I want to hear really good solutions to this problem. What progress, what things have you seen in your journey towards being a better person? What are things that are actually working? And also, I guess the last thing I'll say here too, if you do want to be a good person and you do like helping people, you can't do that when you are shaming and feeling guilty about yourself. You can't help anybody when you have lots of negative emotions. Do you think that I could have turned this camera on and shot this video? I'm going to tell you, 6 months ago, I couldn't have done it. As somebody who's a professional YouTuber, I've been doing YouTube since 2008, 18 years. I've had creative block for about 5 years, and I really fucked up my life, and I had another YouTube channel that was like 190,000 subscribers. I don't know if this is the first time you've seen one of my videos, but I'm already successful at YouTube. And I've had an inability to create videos for 5 years. And I've had a lot of shame and a lot of guilt around failing and fucking up my life and fucking up situations that has caused negative emotions, which has caused creative block, which causes me to have resistance and frustration towards doing this. Then lust is my coping mechanism to that, and it becomes a self-destructive behavior. You watching this right now is my own medicine to the problem. The last thing I guess I can say here is once you have those pieces in place and you're in the progress of having more compassion and understanding with yourself, then it's about transmuting that into healthy behaviors. At the end of the day, it's all energy. Your libido, your energy here, it has to be transmitted. You can't repress it. It cannot be pushed down and pushed away. You cannot ignore instinctual desires. That's another thing too, I guess, that I probably should have opened this conversation with this. You cannot shut down Mother Nature. Like this energy that you feel is just energy. For example, if I had a switch here that controlled a power plant with, gigajoules of power, if I take a cable with that much power and I just touch somebody with it, they'd explode. They'd evaporate. They would just be gone in an instant. But that same power can power a town. It can power a city. Power, energy is not bad. There is no morals to it. It's not right or wrong. Your energy that you feel, the way that you are, the life force that causes you to be, the same power that drives you to want to be a better person and be a new version of yourself in this new season, that same energy is also the same energy that is dissipating through your bad behaviors. It's not bad. There is no moralistic thing to it. It's not good or right or wrong. That's kind of like one of the downsides of scripture, I think, is they a lot of times moralize this stuff, and the shame and the guilt that you get from that causes the spiraling and the negative effects. So, but at the end of the day, power and energy is just, it's what it is. It's more about understanding that and channeling it into healthy things and good things. And for me, making this video is that. I can tell you right now, I have absolutely no desire to do anything other than what I'm doing right now. I don't feel the anxiety or the frustration, the shame and the guilt. I don't feel any of that right now. It's gone. Emotions come in waves. They're never forever. That's going to be a unique thing for you. I can't tell you to go make YouTube videos because that's a personal thing for me, a personal passion, something that I've been developing with myself for 18 years. You have something that you want to do or that you're developing, that you're learning. I will tell you that the thing you're avoiding the most, as far as a creative project, like something that you're passionate about, you've been passionate about it for a very long time, but you put it off, you've put it to the side, you got a job, you got a business, you got kids, a family, you got responsibilities and priorities that you don't have time for that. That's an excuse. It's just, all you're doing is resistance. You're just facing resistance. And you will find that your healthy release to this issue will be found in the thing that you're not doing. It'll be found in the thing that you're avoiding, because that's where the emotional energy's at. That's where the passion's at. That's where your spirit is pulling you to. You have a calling to do this thing. You know what I'm talking about. It's something that you've been thinking about for a very long time. You would have forgotten about it if it wasn't a calling. If it wasn't something that was deeply resonating with you, you would have forgotten about it. It would have been just some other stupid thing that you were interested in for a week. But it's not. It's something that you have thought about for a very long time. And the reason that you're not doing it is because you don't know where to start, and you have a lot of fear and anxiety and probably shame and guilt around yourself, which is causing that barrier and that creative block. I am talking from personal experience over the past 5 years. The more you dissipate those negative emotions and the more compassion and empathy you have for yourself, the easier it will be to lean into that thing that you're avoiding to do creatively. And I highly recommend you lean into it more, but pay attention to the negative emotions, because as you lean into it, you're going to get frustrated because you know what you want to do, but you don't have the skill set or the ability to get there quite yet. And you're frustrated and you're impatient and you're having perfectionist issues. Don't do any of that. Accept that you're going to suck in the beginning and you're going to have resistance, or maybe it's something you've done for a really, really long time. Like me, I've done videos for a very long time, but you're rusty. You need to refresh. You need to have some patience and some understanding with yourself. But I guarantee you, the healthy coping mechanism to your bad coping mechanism is going to be in the thing that you're resisting. Because again, you have energy, it's coming through you, it will find a release regardless of what you want it to do. You have to develop the new release valve. This new version of you, this new season of life that you're in, you have to develop a different coping mechanism for that negative energy. And it's going to be that thing that you're avoiding. I almost guarantee it. So hopefully this video clicked with you and helped you. It's not going to solve your problem immediately, but yeah, let me know in the comments what you found with this issue.